We have Professor Swaran Singh, Center for International Studies at JNU, now joining us on the broadcast. Professor Swaran Singh, thank you for taking time out to be with us here on News 9. This meeting is of epic proportions and could really set the tone for Trump to strike more such deals after China.
Absolutely, there is no doubt. United States and China put together constitute half of world's GDP, and both are leading trading nations in that sense. So they both have been weaponizing whatever their leverages are. For example, President Trump has been obsessively using tariffs as an instrument of putting pressure on one and all. And lately, Chinese have also responded with their virtual monopoly on rare earth magnets and materials processing, particularly. And in that sense, they seems to be really brandishing their leverages against each other. But both also understand as being inordinately large-sized economies. For example, if Chinese economy today is about 19 trillion, the next largest economy, the third largest economy, is about 6 trillion, one third of the Chinese economy. So both are inordinately large-sized economies, and their saber rattling would have impact on the world economy and international trade as such. So in that sense, you notice that President Trump, right from his time in Malaysia and Japan, has been building up this momentum of him being someone who's able to cut the deal and sign framework agreements with several countries, moving all the way to meeting President Xi Jinping. And you just mentioned Chinese gesture of buying soybean, which they had stopped buying from United States and started buying from Brazil, is again a gesture of need to sort of understand. And I understand the NVIDIA CEO, Jason Huang, has just flown into South Korea. And the chips that NVIDIA makes are also a issue of tension. And Trump wants to make sure Chinese will buy that company's chips. And that company today is about $5 trillion worth of market cap it has. And it's an effort to find out how they can at least make gestures toward each other. But I don't think any breakthrough deal will happen because President Trump is meeting several, half a dozen leaders during the day when he's not attending the main regional meeting. So of course there will be a limited time between President Xi and President Trump. So they will clearly endorse the framework for their trade negotiations and trade agreement, giving a clear gesture that they are positively moving forward in resolving several of these issues. But we may not see a clear breakthrough in the meeting tomorrow itself. But the fact that two are meeting, this is the first meeting after President Trump took over the White House for his second term. They had met twice in 2019 in March and November. And after that, this is the first meeting. And I assume it's at least going to set the atmospherics and send positive signals for stock exchanges and then investor confidence and so on. So we might see some positive photo ops and some positive statements coming out of that meeting tomorrow.
And would you, in that sense, when India is watching all of this unfold in South Korea, in Busan, how does India, in that sense, progress from here in terms of its own approach to its own deal with the US?
The trade negotiations with India can be seen both as positively impacted because President Trump is building a positive environment around him as he goes to meet Xi Jinping. But also, if there is a positive meeting tomorrow with President Xi Jinping, would also have a positive impact on all other negotiations, whether it is Japan, Malaysia, South Korea, and India, of course. And India has also been lately ensuring a certain amount of course correction. We have noticed that India has reduced purchase of oil from Russia, has increased purchase of oil from United States, and we are exploring what could be the possibilities. For example, can we buy soybean? Can we buy corn? For example, India is having a growing market of biofuels where we are mixing ethanol with petrol. So that could be something which would make India buy more corn from United States. to propitiate the fact that India has been rather stubborn in defending interests of Indian farmers and saying that is not where we will sort of make any concessions to United States. So we could see some of those possibilities where India's negotiations could also move forward. It's also a tough year for President Trump because it's largely framework agreements that he's been able to sign and there not been any breakthrough. Initially, he started by saying he's going to create new trade arrangements with all the 85 trading partners that the United States has. In that sense, I think it's also important that President Trump realizes that the ultimate negotiations must be guided by interests of both sides when they are negotiating, and it can't be my way or highway kind of approach. And in that sense, I think gradually both sides are finding more pragmatic ways rather than rhetoric as to how to resolve issues. And of course, the United States remains a very important trading partner for India. And India, likewise, is a very significant economy and the largest democracy, which is again something that United States wants to flaunt, is on their side of increasing sort of global tensions and divide, if you want to see in terms of geopolitics. So
Right.
gradually, I think both sides are going to become more pragmatic about it.